So Sybil attack is when one person creates 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 accounts that seem to be different people, but actually they're controlled by a single person that can then harvest all of the rewards or tokens or whatever it is that they're targeting. And that's been really a plague in the crypto space for a while now.
Frederick Manawa here with Bitcoin.com. I've got Titus Kevalny with Civic. And Titus is the VP of Go-to-Market Strategy, right? Titus, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
And you've got an interesting profile, right? Developer, product guy. We were just talking before this, and you're talking about all the different components that make up your role. So tell us what you do at Civic, and maybe you can tell us what Civic does as well.
For sure. So my role at Civic is to make sure that the product gets into the hands of the builders that want to protect their apps from either a bot attack or a Sybil attack, or want to help them comply with regulations around KYC and understanding who they're doing business with. That's my role, is essentially to structure the narrative, create the strategies, be in front of the right audiences, you go to the right conferences, pitch to the right people, ensure that Civic gets into the right hands.
That's interesting. Do you mind explaining what a Sybil attack is to
for sure,
to our audience?
So Sybil attack is when one person creates 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 accounts that seem to be different people, but actually they're controlled by a single person that can then harvest all of the rewards or tokens or whatever it is that they're targeting. And that's been really a plague in the crypto space for a while now. The people are becoming more sophisticated. They're organizing face farms. They're organizing ways to beat these systems. So it's a big focus. In the crypto space.
You know what's interesting is that in crypto itself, in the architecture, if you look at whether it's Bitcoin, let's say a proof of work consensus mechanism is in fact designed to prevent Sybil attacks. Right, so that's why you have proof of work. It makes you do some work before you you append to the blockchain. You append a new block to the blockchain. It makes you do that those calculations, right? Which is what I guess makes Bitcoin expensive, because it uses all that computational power. So that's also a version of I guess not a Sybil attack, but it's called what's the name again? Sybil resistance, I believe, is the term, to prevent Sybil attacks in the blockchain. So if we can prevent it in Bitcoin, in our architecture, we should also be preventing it on the user layer as well, which is what Civic is doing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So Civic, I remember when your founder founded the company, and they had the ICO, and I think a lot has happened since 2017 when I first heard about it. So what's changed from the old Civic to the new Civic of today?
If we want to talk about history, I'll go back to the Bitcoin initial thesis that the founders had. Can we anchor attestations to the safest chain out there, which is Bitcoin? I think that proved to be a very expensive adventure. So then they looked at Ethereum for a while, and we built on Ethereum for the longest of time, until it became very expensive to build on Ethereum mainnet as well. And at that point, I think that's when Solana was starting to appear. And then Civic kind of reinvented itself on Solana after Ethereum became very expensive. There was no L2 yet, so you couldn't really go on an L2 and do things there. So we went in that direction, and throughout that journey, we went through verifying sort of NFT projects, and then doing work in that space for a while. But then that market collapsed. So, but then what we came out of that adventure was Civic Pass, which is the verification tool that we now primarily use, is anchoring an attestation on chain through a soulbound token that has state. So it's an active or revoked or rejected or frozen pass to be able to enforce some security rules. And it says something about that address. This address now has passed a capture verification, or has passed a liveness verification through a biometrics check, or this is a unique address in this ecosystem that we verified, or this person has been KYC. So these are kind of the standard options that we offer, but you can also verify whatever you want. If you have your own verification method, Like you want to go like do a quiz and then put that result on chain, you can do that as well.
So that's very interesting. So I know you've got Civic Auth and Civic Pass. What's the difference between those two products?
Sure, yeah. So I think Civic Pass was kind of the extension and evolution of our core identity offering. What we realized along the way is we need builders to have simpler solutions to identify users beyond Web3, right? Because right now, like to use Civic Pass, you need to have a wallet. To have a wallet, you need to understand seed phrases and private keys and like all that fun stuff, to the most part. What we said is like, well, let's give builders another tool where we abstract the wallet away from that conversation. It's still non-custodial, but very simple, tied to an authentication method that you can deploy in a couple of minutes. So no bells and whistles, no strings attached, no crazy stuff like that. But once you deploy it, you then have the option to add the path element to it and verify your users. It's kind of like a role-based authentication service where you're given a role in the org based on some permissions that you have, right? And then you can use the path to govern those permissions. So only verified people with these credentials can access the rewards or the gated part of the app or whatever you're protecting.
So what are some of the, so that's great for developers. I know that we were talking about, well, we didn't talk about bots, but I think when you were explaining Sybil, the Sybil attack, you talked about people with multiple identities and so forth. And we were talking about AI before. What are some of the problems that you guys either are solving already or you think you'll be able to solve with the advent of AI, bots, and these, very realistic deepfakes, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting better like by the week, maybe even by the day, I don't know. And I've always thought that crypto would have a solution for that with cryptography and verification. But I always thought it was like ZK proof related would be the solution. What are some of the solutions you think will come out of Civic for deepfakes and bots and other things when AI takes off or continues on its current trajectory?
Yeah, so one quick take on ZK. So I think like from my perspective, we should let the chain do its thing, which is like provide the proofs and for the attestations. That's why we're putting the attestations as a soulbound token instead of creating ZK proofs. Because there's no reason for us to add that compute overhead when it comes to creating the proofs. You can create those attestations and let the blockchain secure them, because that's what like the proof of work or stake or whatever the blockchain is does, right? So that's one thing. And then on the AI piece, like deepfakes and whatnot, I think for one, we help builders essentially filter out the bots and the fake account attackers with like either a simple test like a CAPTCHA pass, right? Or a liveness detection, which is like a 3D face map, which is stronger than a video, right? Because it not only captures the video itself, right? Which you could spoof with a good screen and like high resolution and whatnot, but it forces the user to move their head closer and further from the camera, creating some distance points that create that face map, right? And that is very hard to replicate in an AI environment right now. This is like state-of-the-art NIST, like sure. We don't know where the future goes with that, but I think what we need to continue to reinforce like our fight against these fakes is let's add multiple methods of authentication and like verification of that particular individual to make sure that like if they pass all like 2 or 3, then we have assurance that they're a person. If you only pass 1, then you have less assurance. And I think from a deepfake perspective, I think where the world could go, I'm not sure if it's going to go there or not, is when you're generating these videos, like you would need to have some sort of signature. When you're uploading a video, like can you add a signature that, hey, these are the real people in that video? The same way we're now doing like these consent forms at events, like capturing the likeness and like consent that to be filmed and so on. We're signing all these papers. Like, can we digitize that and put that in the file and say like, hey, this 3 people that are in this video, we verified that are actually indeed real human beings and they're not being spoofed and they've consented to doing the video. And even if it's a deepfake video, but they agreed to do it. I don't know if you saw the Trump video that was released about like the Gaza with yeah,
No.
that was a deepfake.
Okay.
Right? That was like an AI generated video, but like they released it. So there's like categories of AI generated video right now. So
Right.
we need some sort of identity system underlying to either delegate consent of the people inside of that video or inside of that photo that was generated, or to ensure that those are actually real people that are in the material.
Right. Okay, so different things.
Yeah.
Right. So besides, I guess, your core products right now, I think you said Civic Pass is kind of like, that's where your main focus is right now.
Well, I think Civic Pass is older, right? It's like it has more time in the market. We had almost, well, no, we've passed 1 million passes to date. So
Okay.
we're over 1 million passes issued. It's been around for a few years now. The other product, Auth, I think has a bigger footprint potential because it addresses like a broader market of developers. It's
Right.
not just people needing to verify identity specifically,
Right.
but anyone who needs to like authenticate users in their app.
Right.
But that's a newer product. We launched it at DevCon last year. Still in alpha. We're doing a big release soon. So we're excited about putting that out there and getting in the hands of more developers.
Okay. Any other, maybe not products that you're actually working on, but then are there any other projects or products that you in the future would like to work on, or you see yourselves working on? And I'm thinking probably something related to AI, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I think from an AI perspective, we want to bring in the best AI technology to help us ensure that we can distinguish a person from an AI bot, right? That's where we want to continue to innovate and bring in the best tools and provide those to developers. And then the other one is we are actively exploring AI agent identity use cases where how you can essentially delegate or tie an AI agent to the human being that programmed it to be released out there in the wild. Because I've been talking to builders, and a lot of them don't mind to have bots or AI agents in their ecosystem, but what they want to know is who is responsible for that bot, who built them, and who is the beneficiary of their actions.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. And besides Civic, what other apps or projects or networks are you most excited about in the crypto space right now? Besides your own stuff.
Besides my own stuff, yeah. Look, I'm like we're super excited to see like the evolution in EVMs, like in how rollups are coming up as kind of app chains. That's gonna be interesting as people are spinning up app specific chains, and if we can bring in tools bundled with that, that's something that I'm excited about. To like give developers a kind of an end-to-end launch this rollup, and it works with all these other tools that are mainnet. That's one thing I'm excited about. Unichain just went live, so that's pretty cool. That they were able to launch their own chain. And then obviously Solana, we're excited about like what's happening there. There's a lot of innovation happening in on chain. Make it faster, make it more reliable. Go beyond kind of the meme coin use cases into more real world use cases and like more sustainable stuff.
So, at first it was Bitcoin was the big network. It still is. And then there was Ethereum. And in the past, you had all of these so-called Ethereum killers. So you had EOS. I don't know if you remember EOS.
Oh, of course.
Cardano.
Yeah.
But they never really killed Ethereum. But Solana is the first chain to actually challenge Ethereum and beat it in some areas. For example, DEX volume. Ethereum has been lagging Solana. I believe Solana is still working on getting its TVL numbers up to match the amount of TVL that's on Ethereum, but that might happen in the future. So, and a lot of people have been very bearish about Ethereum, as you know. What are your thoughts about the future of Ethereum and the future of Solana? And which one are you betting on? I know you guys are on Solana already, but if you remove yourselves out of it, which chain do you think will end up taking that second place spot in crypto?
Oh man, if I knew the answer to that, I would be way richer than I am right now. Let's put it that way. But on a more serious note, like we're betting on both ecosystems in the same way, because like we're on Solana, but we're also on Ethereum and on the EVM chains like L2s and other EVM L1s. I think they both have use cases from like different communities. They both have like different entry points and exit points, and yeah, I think it's if the community and the builders want us to be there, we will come and meet them where they are.
So they're betting on both. I guess you did talk about being excited about EVM developments like Unichain and so forth. What would you say to somebody entering the crypto space right now? What would your advice be? You've been in it for a long time, I assume, right?
Yeah, it's been a good number of years.
Yeah.
I think it's become very complicated to navigate. I think initially there were much fewer networks, coins, chains, etc. Much fewer wallets, much fewer like infrastructure tools. I think as we went through a few cycles, those exploded exponentially. And I think the biggest kind of advice I would give someone would be to be wary of the casino element. Like if they go into that space with like the wanting to win quickly, they should also expect to potentially lose quickly if they go in that space where there's a lot of volatility, right? And do their own research. Like if something is too good to be true, it probably is. It's kind of like in the Web2 space. Like if it sounds like a scam, it's probably a scam.
Right.
If it's like a celebrity coin, probably stay away from it.
Yeah.
That's my hot take. Yeah.
You've seen a lot of those.
And a country coin and like a president coin and whatever, like first lady coin and whatever you find, dog coins, cat coins.
Looks like Dogecoin has managed to outlast the others. It's the only dog coin. You saw the Dogecoin truck in the car. So
hey,
looks like there's some room for it. So
yeah, but pick the right dog coin.
Pick the right dog coin. Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Titus Kevalny with Civic. You are Civic's VP of Go-to-Market Strategy. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.